So thank you so much for coming to our panel. We are today presenting only two of us, and let me introduce the first presenter on our panel. And this is Anastasiya Smith from Department of Germanic and Slavic Studies, University of Georgia. And she is a PhD student in this department. She is also an OPI rater, and she teaches at the flagship program. She got the Outstanding Teaching Assistant for Russian Award in 2022. She got Outstanding Teaching Assistant Award for 2023 and Instructional Excellence in the Russian flagship program for 2023. And today, Anastasiya is presenting on the topic which you can see on the slide: teaching writing at the novice mid to intermediate low levels. Why, what, and now. Anastasiya, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I have my little notes, so I will glance at them a little bit. So this presentation I'm going to be talking about today, our panel is called Innovative Techniques. I don't think I want to share anything breakthrough or innovative about writing. However, I want to share that my presentation today was inspired by a panel I attended at ACES 2024 in Boston last November. And that panel was focusing on Russian writing instruction. And one of the panelists, Marina Tsilina, I believe, she opened it with such excellent questions, to my opinion. Why do we teach writing? Why our students need to write? Why they need to write in a second language, because it's another layer. But as the conversation, that panel unfolded, those questions felt kind of quickly overshadowed by the topic of AI in our classrooms, AI for writing. What does AI mean? How do we handle AI? How do our students handle AI? And I personally felt that those original foundational questions, I wanted to linger on them a little longer myself and think about and discuss them. So that's why I thought I want to bring those questions back, so to say, and kind of focus on them. I am not going to say AI other than this first slide. No, I'm not going to talk about AI in my classroom. And I'm not because I'm avoiding it, which I am a little bit, but it's just simply not necessary, I found in my beginner lower level language courses. And the novice mid to intermediate low level writing is still deeply human, because we're still talking about this very, very close to our being, immediate being topics. My daily routine, my hometown, the holiday I love and celebrate, things like that. So, and what I want to talk about today, like writing as a relational activity, as a personal activity, and as an expressive activity, even in the very early stages of proficiency. And I want to talk about writing as a way to explore self and express self and share the self with others, and way to connect with others, and at a space where learners begin shaping their voice, begin shaping their identity in a foreign language, in a foreign language classroom, and building their intention to write, even with their simplest vocabulary, simplest topics that we assign. And I would like to continue this conversation, like what writing means and why we do that. So why writing at this level? At early proficiency level, writing is often limited or postponed, and that comes from English as a second language research. There was a corpus study that they found that a lot of writing comes much later in the English language research, usually because students aren't ready, what they're going to talk about. But again, we all know that students, even novice mid to high to intermediate low, they can still start expressing themselves in writing. And writing gives them a space to do that with structure and time. It's showing what they know. They can show what they know. It also helps them to start developing their voice and confidence in a foreign language. And the feeling that their ideas matter, their ideas are important in a new language, there are these novice learners. And I want to quote Erika Lindemann with this wonderful book. I love it. A Rhetoric for Writing Teachers. It's not a foreign language writing. It's a writing in English language classroom for English language majors. However, her thoughts on writing and on writing activities is from 2001, pre-AI, still really resonate with me. And I just picked it up while preparing for this conference. And I was like, yes, I still enjoy coming back to this book. Writing permits us to understand not only the world, but also the self. We discover who we are by writing. And another good quote is that we teach students how writing discovers the self and shares it with others. Sharing self with other people, connecting, building those connections. So why writing matters at the novice, intermediate, low levels. So it builds fluency through slower and supported production. It reinforces the vocabulary, grammar, and syntax. It creates their space for creativity and personal voice, helps them feel competent and confident, and supports cross-modal learning, linking speaking and reading and listening. And because it gives them the visual representation of what exactly they can produce. Because even if they speaking is fleeting. Once they said the word, it's gone. Unless they recorded their monologue and came back to it and listened to it and saw what they produced, heard. Here, they actually have the product, physical product in their hands of what they can do. So I believe, and I believe everybody agrees that before writing, we saturate them with some input, with idea building, with interaction. And to support meaningful writing, I really focus on giving them as much input as possible. For example, we do a unit on a daily routine. And we start with a bunch of texts that are offered in our text box. Then we watch a video of a Russian student's day, a wonderful YouTube channel I found actually from my alma mater, Siberian Federal University in Krasnoyarsk. They created these short videos. It's called День Анны, I think at level A1, A2. And so this girl goes about her day and documents everything at this beginner level Russian. They all enjoy that video. They all love it. And then we do comprehensive questions, on comprehension questions. We discuss, we retell that story of her. We compare their day with Anna's day. And so then when they sit down to write, they already are so full of the daily routine of other people. And so they produce their own narratives pretty easily, because sometimes people will, even faced with that task, let's produce, tell me about your daily routine. And they're like, well, what can I say? I get up, I go to school, I do my homework, and I come back home. What to say there? But after they saw how much you can do and actually how much you can say, and even those little tiny details matter, they produce pretty good full narratives. And I always tell them when I assign that task, imagine I am behind your shoulder walking with your day. I want to see on the page what your day is like. And yes, you can assign video recording like that, but I go old school, write it, please, because they get extra stress with videoing, with editing, with everything. I did that in the past before, and I was like, writing was good. It's good. So modeling writing. Another thing I do, I share my voice first. I share my experience first. I write first before assigning a writing task as one of their pre-writing activities, and I use very simple level appropriate language with clear structures at their level. And for example, if the task is to describe a town, I write about my hometown in Siberia, and I come from a very small town. And sometimes they feel intimidated. They're like, oh, but I'm not from a large, interesting town. What can I talk about? It's just so boring. I said, listen, I'm not from the most interesting town in the world myself. I come from a Siberian town of 30,000 people. And look how much I was able to say at the level A1, A2. So we talk about that. We did, we I invite them to share. Like, see, I shared my piece with you, share yours with me. And or if I describe my commute, I describe my favorite holiday. Like, I throw in my own piece for them to so, and it shows them what a complete and engaging work looks like even of that A1 A2 level. I do not use any extra vocabulary. I just, the vocabulary that we studied, the words that we studied. And I do believe it builds trust in a classroom. It builds curiosity. It sets the expectations when they see like what that's, well, okay, that's how I'm supposed to do it. So then when I read their drafts, I read as a curious reader. My main feedback is mostly on the content and detail. I had people who were like, well, I don't really know what to write about my hometown. There is nothing in there. I said, okay, you'll write and we'll figure it out. So they bring me their draft and I start asking questions. But I'm asking questions at their level. I'm not asking something I know they cannot possibly answer at that level of proficiency. But I say, okay, but please tell me, how many people live in your town? What do people of your town do in their free time? Are there any special places you enjoyed going to when you were living in that town? So, and when I give my set of questions and when they see how many questions they still have to answer, their rewriting becomes more meaningful because sometimes students are scared of rewriting. They're lazy, they think it's boring, or they are intimidated. Oh, I need to correct all those mistakes now, all those errors. I already suffered so much. I don't want to redo it. But I am offering them to write more. Like, yes, and please answer these questions. See how many more details you could put in. And I noticed the more I did that, the less the shorter my list of follow-up questions are. They kind of picked my game and they're like, okay, well, she's gonna ask us all these questions. So it does help students revise with purpose. And like when I said like the students, they start anticipating what's missing. And over time, they actually add more on their own. So another thing I practice is collaborative writing, seeing other people's voice and style. Sometimes some assignments I give them to work together in shared docs or small groups. And I see their personalities coming through, even at the beginner levels. This semester, not mistakenly, without thinking, assigned people who really write always good, profound, long pieces, as long as they can. I put them all together. And I put people who are more minimalistic, more on purpose, on point and done in one group, in another group. And that's exactly what their collaborative writing created. Their group collaborated so profoundly on the piece, and the group that was just a fact, they just were just the facts. We talked about climate, weather in our town, give some suggestions to international students who are coming to our town, what are the weather is like and what to bring, because we were studying clothes and climate together. So, and the people in the first group, they elaborated on the seasons, on the temperatures, and said, принесите солнцезащитный крем, вы не хотите стать красным человеком. And while it does not sound super grammatically correct in proper Russian, at the beginner level, it does sound funny. It sounds humorous. And the people who were just the facts, it was very good, but it was just facts. Весной, temperature is like that, bring this. Зимой, temperature is like this, there's wind, rain, bring this. And then as a class, we looked at both of them and we discussed what we see in each one. And I was amazed. It was closer to the end of this semester. I was amazed how they were able to see. They were like, oh, they're trying to be funny, this group says. And I said, oh, they are trying to be funny. And these other people were like, oh yeah, they're so on point. So at the end, I told them, well, come back to your pieces and, put the final touches. My first group, they just added the final, like more like wrapping it up. We hope that you will enjoy your trip to Athens, that you will, and this other group, they added details. They added more poetic details. They said not just осенью, but they said that осень — это время для скелетов, время для тыквы. And, come bring this. You would wear a costume or something like that. So they noticed what you can add more. So yes, reflection, peer learning, all of that. I think I'm almost on my last thing. So dictation compositions, по-русски изложение. I found this very interesting tool as well. So you dictation plus composition. I think in the English language tradition, they call them dictacomps or dictation compositions. So reconstructing meaningful text. I read a short personal text twice and students take notes, and then they would have to do what we did in our classrooms, изложение, to recreate that text from their notes. What they can do later with that text. First, they can start with bullet points. Then they can talk with another classmate, they pair together and they recreate the text. Then they finally, as a group, I typically assign it as a group to save time. So they recreate a text, another group recreates a text, and we compare them. We're trying to write, but kind of write something that was already done for you. So they're kind of retelling the story in writing. So it does strengthen their listening. It does strengthen their fluency and structure. And I really want to do that more. Unfortunately, it just happens 2 or 3 times over semester, like that I specifically focus on dictation composition. And I typically do something from a personal experience related to the topic. Like, for example, we talked about общественный transport, public transportation. And I told them about my hometown. It was so small, still has public transportation, not much, but we, discussed that. And I always prep them with the context by giving them something like photographs. Okay, we are going to be hearing about these things, but that's what they look like. So they can kind of picture things that's going on. I give them a little preview of what they're going to hear. So they do write with more like clearance, cohesion after they had that text, heard that text, recreated it. Okay, what I've learned and where I am headed. So I do think that writing gives beginner learners confidence, voice, and ownership, and they are saving their essays. I always tell them, I assign them both in writing and in typing, but I didn't notice any much preference between one and two, but they enjoy writing on paper. They love doing that. So they have something that they can hold on to and see their progression. So I learned that input-rich scaffolded tasks lead to much stronger and fuller writing. The clearer my prompt is, the more scaffolding. So my feedback is rooted in curiosity, and it builds connection and builds depth. I'm really interested in what you are trying to tell me. Tell me more about your town. I really want to know. The collaboration really fosters stylistic awareness and motivation. And my next step, I would really like to focus on genre-based writing instruction. I know it's a very interesting area to explore. Unfortunately, I was not very exploring it in my beginner language classrooms, but that is something very promising that I would like to look at. Because I want them to understand how different types of writing work, how to write for a particular audience, what are the stylistic rules and regulations of certain genres. I've also learned that no matter how much scaffolding, modeling, encouragement you give students, they will respond to writing assignments differently. And some will really thrive, some will find that joy in self-expression, and their writing will grow quickly and they will just be producing some meaningful pieces. And others may still continue to resist it. And with all that scaffolding, with all those tell me more, collaboration, inviting them to write, they will still offer their minimal, uninspired responses. And that's okay too. And that's okay. I am not having any hard feelings about that. That's who they are. And I want to share one story, very, very quickly story to about that, my last one. So students writing in action, I put several things like that is unedited. They just gave it to me. We were talking about мой любимый праздник, my favorite holiday. And I spoke with them. I gave them, I offered them all to go to one Google Doc and we will all write and we'll comment on each other without error correction, without anything. Correct on the comment on the meaning, comment on the fact that you just learned about that person or something like that. So that is unedited. I returned them individually, their edited versions. So this person talks about Dень Sinterklaas. The boy has the Netherlands roots. His whole grandparents are all in the Netherlands. So he talked to us about it. That was excellent, beautiful thing. We learned so much about that. So another person writing. And that person talks about Рождество, still, good enough for a forum discussion kind of a description. And I had this one other person who is actually a heritage language speaker with a very decent level of Russian proficiency, but he hates writing. He hates essays. He told me, I can do anything but writing. I do not like it in any of my class, in any of my course. And he always submits the shortest, the smallest, the tiniest things. So I went today to check on their progress. I already checked on their progress and I saw that his was like literally 3 lines. And I was like, okay, well, I expect that. That's what he usually does. I went to that document today and I saw that he added things. He added that that's where he stopped. Мы празднуем американский и русский Новый год. And that's where he stopped. And I was like, okay, well, I see. And then I went 3 days later, I went in there and he added thing. До Нового года мы готовим еду и дом, мы готовим холодец, бутерброды со шпротами и огурцами. Мы празднуем Новый год 2 раза, во время России и во время американской Новый год. 1 января мы отдыхаем. For me personally, that is a victory because I was like, I saw his 3 lines. I was like, okay, he probably stopped there. And then today it was a good surprise for me. So I'm sharing it with you. I was like, wow, he actually added something. He added the details, looking at everybody else's. So, and that I think I will stop here. I guess my time is up, right?
No, not at all. So we have plenty of time, actually.
Oh, you have we have plenty of time.
Yeah, we had 2 presenters, yeah, and
so I was told like 20 minutes, but I will stop sharing this presentation out after I thought about it. I decided to create let me see, close here. I just for myself decided to create that. Let me go back to Zoom. I don't know why I cannot go back to my share screen. Okay, there it is. I did my I created my own list of like how if I was ever asked what you do with your beginner writers, and that's what I did, like model my writing myself, start with input, not output, give feedback like a curious reader, invite revision through questions, not corrections, use dictocomps to bridge input and output, celebrate their voice, even if in simple language. I like today that boy because honestly, it's a victory. He was so resistant to giving details. Like you'll be like, okay, just listen, I have nothing to say. 3 lines, that's it. I'm incorporating collaborative writing, normalizing variation in students' responses. See, they're all different and they will all do things differently. Keeping the focus on the expression, not AI or the mistake-free writing, because sometimes when they feel they have to produce something perfect, that's when they start going to these helping tools. Like, oh, I need something perfect. I cannot make it perfect myself. Let me just use some help, which is good. It has place. It has room for that. But it just writing helps students discover who they are, and even at the very little things, who they are as Russian learners, for example, at the beginner language classroom. But I think I have nothing else. Nothing else.
Thank you.
to
Thank you so
add.
much. Yeah, I think that you agree that we can take questions after I
Yes.
present, or
Mhm.
at the end, by the end of our panel, we can take all the questions. So let me introduce myself. I'm a chair of this panel, and my name is Svitlana Malykhina, and I'm currently teaching at the Defense Language Institute at Monterey. I've been in this field in Slavic studies for the long of my life. So just that's actually the study that I will present today. It was initiated many, many years ago. So just I started with collecting students' mistakes, and then I started in different colleges. And my experience at American colleges, it's wide and very various experience. So in state universities, in private colleges and universities. And what I present today, it's a part of this study. And I'm presenting only pedagogical implications. And this study, it's about feedback. And as I told you, so there's a feedback study on feedback started with a students' arrow collection, as many of us probably are doing this. And this started as a fun activity, which became a very serious topic. So, as a concept of transformative teaching involved, scholars sought to uncover models and best practices to explain it. My presentation focuses on one aspect of transformative teaching, which is effective, actionable feedback. And more precisely, I will focus only on stages that are early stages of acquiring any new materials, which is retrieval, when students are recalling previously learned material, and transfer, when students apply knowledge to new contexts. A research question of my study is how to enhance feedback and increase students' use of feedback. Let me show you a little bit of um, like a way how I present this. So first of all, I'm talking about context. And as you see, retrieval, that's a concept that is often measured by how quickly and accurately students can recall vocab or grammatical rules when they produced language. It involves both controlled retrieval, which requires deliberate cognitive effort, such as recalling words from memory, and also automatic retrieval, which happens without conscious effort, like fluent speaking or reading. Transfer, that's a next step, and this is a pattern when the students retrieve from their L1 language to their L2 language, and often do this unconsciously. So in linguistics and in second language acquisition, there is a concept like negative transfer, which occurs when differences between L1 and L2 languages can cause mistakes, such as word order, for example, or verb conjugation. And that can be positive retrieve. So when the L1 and L2 languages are very close. What we will be talking about, it's how these steps, how the stages are placed in the transformative learning. So I presented here a few quotes from the scholars that are already cult personalities in our study, and they're talking about the learner autonomy in transformative teaching. Learner autonomy in this context refers to the learner's ability to take charge of their own production, of their own learning. And also, this concept reshape how students learn, think, and engage with language. One of the best examples of the like I would say, initiatives where the learner's autonomous is applied, it's the flagship Russian overseas programs. And on this topic, David Davidson published his work in 2010. If we think about the strategies or just the steps, how it happens, how the learner becomes an autonomous learner, we can probably should think about a few important concepts. It's encourage critical thinking in learners, scaffold reflection, and teach them how to reflect. So also we have to teach them self-directed inquiry and, of course, scaffolding. On this slide, you can see in detail how I present this in the diagram. And right now, like making an autonomous learner, it's been an experience where we have to provide learners not only with the authentic materials and with transformative teaching, but also with feedback that support his autonomy, making him not only to receive our feedback, but also response to it and feeling that he's responsible for his own learner. So such approach to feedback demands a balance of structured support and freedom of exploration. On this slide, you will see long scholarship references that I collected for my research. But what is really important for us is just a few ideas, and they're the following ideas. So first, it's the article by Shatter, and it was a foundational article that discusses immediate process-oriented feedback during learning. And this especially to the point of the stage retrieval. Then another very famous article by Hoti and Timperley, who shows us that feedback should answer three key questions: where I'm going, how am I, and where to next. Then the next one, I think it's probably less cited, less quoted, but that's a very interesting research on scaffolding in teacher-student interaction. And here we come in with the concept metacognitive instruction, and that would be part of the feedback process that I will be talking about. So just in my perspective, the best, the most effective feedback would be only in combination with actionable feedback and metacognitive instruction. You can see here the two quotes, and I can actually just stop here and give you some space for jumping in with questions. So if by now you have any particular reasons to ask me, like where to go, or just what, like I would be really interested to know what do you think about feedback, and just how do you actually envision this, and what you did as teachers, what you do giving students feedback. You can put it in the chat, you can like say it, share it in our forum. Oh. Okay, so if there are no questions so far, then let me jump to the next slide. And in the slide, the previous slide, I showed you that to talking about actionable feedback, it's actually just talking about motivation of the students, yes? And really important to refine our learning objectives for the students. remind of the progress on the current work. Feedback also requires the correction and changes, definitely. And reinforcement, so just to make some adjustment to the student's performance. And the next, it's really important just to remind students about self-regulations. So let me go back to the previous slide. And here you can see the feedback goals. So what is this about? So just I again want to remind you that in this study, I'm working only with the two stages, which are early stages of language acquisition. So just those stages may happen on different levels at different points. So I'm not talking about the low levels of the learning proficiency levels. So I'm not talking about the beginning or intermediate levels, but it's a levels of the conscious understanding of the process of learning language. So for retrieval, for any kind of retrieval, which happens, for example, at the very beginning, like learning separate words, and then at the intermediate level or even at advanced level, when they're acquiring the discourse and they're just trying to recall something from the like a massive, big text or any kind of discourse from audio. So how this process of retrieval happens? It's usually we have not many tools to check up on the retrieval. So we usually do this only with comprehension questions. So far, we have this done only in an old school way. In 2022, the publication by Eddy came up with a new ways on how to retrieve. And just in this book, you can find 10 new ways how to make this retrieval really engaging and interacting. And among them, there is not only Venn diagrams that we are all aware of, but there are other ways that find the application in the management, in the business administration, and just how people can use in their critical thinking when they try to bring the information that they just acquire it. And I think that here we can make a segue to the what Anastasiya talking about. She was talking about this decomposition, yeah? So just this изложение, Russian изложение. So that's one of the ways of the retrieval. So, and the goal of the feedback on this stage, that would be strengthen their memory, accuracy, and automaticity. So when we're talking about transfer, so just we're trying to get our students to use their knowledge of the that they got from the first stage at retrieval and bring them to the new context and apply them. And at this level, at this stage, feedback is supposed to help students to make generalizations and adapt knowledge flexibly as much as they can. And here I'm showing you the table. And I would like to stay like on this slide a few minutes. Again, if you have a question, please jump in and ask questions. But I want to explain you this table. So just that's how I put all together the stages. So there are two stages here, as you can see on the left column, retrieval and transfer. And I put down the effective feedback characteristics. So just what is considered to be effective feedback. And all the examples that I brought and just put down on the right column, they're taken for the students who are at the ILR level 1+2, which is according to the ACTFL system, it's just approximately intermediate high, advanced low level. So, given an immediate but low-stake feedback, so what's the goal? It's just to give a quick correction or confirmation. And as an example, as the phrases that I would bring to you. So just students hesitates on a verb form, and you quickly model the correct form, and then just he or she just repeat it. Or just the next feedback can be like process focused. So highlight how they are retrieving. So just say something when you see that students just shows you his retrieval process. You can say something good that you grouped words by category in your mind, and that is efficient retrieval strategies. That's really important to mention to him. So exactly this kind of feedback can be done for the bringing together, like given the correct case ending, or retrieve from the memory synonyms or antonyms, or put down the correct phrase on the cognitive map when they're just trying to create a narrative or just try to describe something. So encourage self-correction. That's an important point in the any feedback. So what could be done here? All the phrases like you are close, think about the tense we practiced yesterday. So for example, when you want him to give you a story with a like keeping in order all the events, or the next cue can be reinforce the kind of prompts or triggers. So you can say, notice how seeing this event help you to remember something else that was like that you retrieved previously. Or you can do this for the grammar features. For example, you can say, look how the noticing the gender of a noun help you to remember the adjectival ending. So, and then to encourage just the student with use that again. So feedback for transfer stage, it's a little bit different. And just here we're trying to get the comparative approach. We're just trying to notice, like to teach students notice differences between a few concepts. And in our encouragement phrases, we can use something like in formal writing, you'd use this structure. In conversation, how would you change it? And my example would be very simple. So just I decided to give you very simple examples. So just many of our students try to write a letter to a teacher or just a postcard, and just they put it down, Дорогая Svitlana Vladimirovna. So just, and this is a moment when I would mention that, you know, when you're in official, in academic settings, it's better to use уважаемая. Дорогая, that would be sound a little bit off context. So then you can focus on adaptability and not perfection, definitely. And then you say, great that you use this polite register here. For example, when you are talking to me, you're using V form, and when you're talking to your classmate, you're using T, or even started using all the diminutive suffixes adding to the name. So just this is a good way just to, how you tweak the ending, like little suffixes, little ending to the words. And of course, highlighting the cultural, contextual nuances. So you may want to say again something about the register, something about adjustment of the tone. That can be done easily when you give the students, again, I'm trying to make a segue to what Anastasiya told us, like when you teach students different genres, and especially when you ask them to make a production, like the output task. So for example, create a brochure, create a pamphlet, create a poster. So that's where you can mention all of those contextual and cultural nuances. So this is inappropriate for the tourist audience, but if you are creating a poster for university audience, so that's probably would be quite different. So then encourage metacognitive reflections, which is no less important for our students. And that's they're supposed to choose expressions that probably even not always like emphasized in the textbooks, but there are so many of them in the authentic materials. And quite often, if our students or the teachers, we don't have time or we don't have focus just to recognize them and just to mention to the students that it's really important, all of those contextual clues. Well, if you want, just in case, if you want to create something which could be look like a template for the students' use, then I would recommend you just something as easy as this. So just you can expand it. You can actually just make not 3, but 6, but 10 steps. But positive acknowledgement. So what went well? That's really important. Give them a prompt for refinement. So just to make it actionable, yeah? So just, first of all, it's supposed to be incremental. So just like make an improvement in this particular area of your performance. And then also metacognitive reflections, which is really important. So encourage students' awareness. So just tell them, try to make analysis on their own, and then bring this analysis for you to just to check up on them, just to run by you. So that's an important stage. So just let me give you a few more examples of retrieval. So just a feedback on like a successful retrieval. So just use successful recalled key vocab related to housing. To strengthen this even further, double check adjective noun agreement when describing the apartment. And what strategy help you to remember the phrases during the task? And here can be, again, like you're opening the floor for discussion. You didn't start with your advice, even in the best, with your best desire to help students. So just you invite students to negotiate the meaning, probably even drop this ball to the students, to the classroom. Students very much appreciate when they're given the chance to share their knowledge with each other. And in some cases, that may even be more beneficial for them and just more efficient than our feedback. So then, like from my the recent experience with working with the word formation. So one of the students in the class learned Spanish before he came to learn Russian. So, and when we were talking about Svitlana, so just, and we trying to, just to practice again, the like a word formation, complex words with those like fill-in vowel. So he came with his idea about the semaphore. I was so surprised, being like aware that he's talking about like the more advanced, more low frequency word, but it came from Spanish. And he said, oh, that's how in Spanish we are talking about the light, the street light. So that was a very good bridge to the knowledge, to the background knowledge, to the language knowledge. And that was a very good way, like where students' feedback meets the class goals and just learners' objective. What we can also do to help students, definitely that's rubric. And with rubric, like there are so many approaches, so just we are all aware that rubrics can be done with the help of artificial intelligence. And so just, but I decided to give you an example of self-feedback, so self-assessment. Here is I put down the skill area, how students can, again, it's a type of a self-reflection, where students can like check off what they actually can do and what is still takes their time to improve. So they may look and reflect on their own skill to recall key vocab accurately. And accurately, I mean, for example, when, again, it is the first stage of acquiring words. When a student put down on her quiz the word ribushka instead of rubashka, so that gives me an idea that she probably learns this verb without the audio. So just she learned it from the printed text. And that's actually just, again, that just immediately like created an opportunity to give her a metacognitive instruction that the language acquisition that's first of all, not first of all, so that simultaneous acquiring the word from the dictionary, the printed word, and the audio shape of the word. So just correct, so that if a student is able to correct themselves, so that's, as you all aware, so that's a really huge leap in their acquisition and in their retrieval. So just then they know that they improve their the process of transfer. They're already not stuck in only retrieval, in only being able just to recall something. And then, so just if they're able to adapt language for the situation, then again, and just for the context, so that's a wonderful way for them just to giving themselves feedback that, wow, that's I'm already on my way to the higher level. And notice cultural and context differences. So that's very interesting when students just like that happens to me again recently. So that's all an example from my recent experience. One of the students, absolutely out of the blue, when his peers, his classroom mates just created a noise, he just turned to them and said, "Да успокойтесь вы." So that's such a great moment for me. So just, and I realized that he didn't even retrieve it, but he already transferred this because that was so to the point, just to get those kids, so just like the adult person, but still like those kids just to say, like, not shut up, not anything else, but just this phrase. Okay, so, and if they can explain their choices, that always just a great sign that then they can reflect on their language retrieval and transfer, and then they can give feedback to themselves. So Bloom taxonomy is always a good way to start talking about feedback, and we all know that there is a very expanded versions of Bloom taxonomy. So again, with my examples, let me give you a few examples. We start with the lower level verbs, with the lower critical thinking verbs, such as remembering. You may want to say you correctly recall the term, but next time also explain it in your own words. So that would be the feedback on remembering, or the feedback on understanding. So see if they can paraphrase, if they can summarize. So just you can say something, good job explaining the main idea. How might you illustrate it with the example? And again, it's not a reprimander. It's not something that direct, like to the point assessment of their skills, but just it's more like we're doing this in the natural conversation. So then applying, so just that's a very, very good process. So just when like really illustrative stage of the going to the higher level in language. Applying, I'm talking about look at how they use knowledge in a new situation. So in this way, you can say you apply this grammar rule or just you apply this phrase. Try using it in a different context. And that's what I'm always saying students when they're learning vocab. So just if you learn vocab, try to put it in your story. Try to put it in your, I don't know, like elevator pitch genre. Try to put it in the fairy tale if you like just to make up fairy tales, etc. Try to put it in the article, in the scholarly article, or in the popular article. So analyzing or evaluating, so just let us talk about evaluating, they just push students to justify decisions. How to do this? That's not so easy to do. So just you can say that you made a choice here. How would you defend it against a counter argument? So that's always a good idea to to spark a debate in class. So just to see how students can actually defend their own ideas. And creating, it's encourage students to produce some original work. And so again, I'm just trying to refer to the previous presentation. So that's really important and not an easy task. So you may say your project, your essay shows creativity. How could you build on it even further by blending ideas from different sources, from different people, from different contexts? So as a conclusion, I can only put down this like 4 points. So the actionable feedback, it's supposed to adjust the focus of feedback based on the nature of assignment. And according to the level of cognitive work you are expecting, not on the cognitive level of the students, but what you expect. So just from your perspective, you are doing this feedback. You can combine different Bloom's levels in a single piece, in a one feedback. And especially that's true for the complex tasks like papers or projects. And always aim for constructive feedback. I like after many years of giving students negative feedback, I stopped doing this and just I decided that well, I wanted to be more like sharing something, sharing praises rather than giving them labels or just pointing out what was wrong. Because just that's not constructive, especially with a new generation of students in American context. So that's actually not productive, counterproductive. And that's like when you're giving them constructive feedback, or even more, even going further, when you just getting them know that you feel that you invite them to be your colleagues rather than your students. So just make them experts in some areas. That actually encourages deeper thinking. And whether it's a simple recall or facts or complex creation of original ideas, so the goal of feedback is always to guide students to progress. And that's again just to the point of writing and rewriting the essays or just writing projects. That's it. Thank you for your attention. And sorry, I'm just stop sharing. And now if we still have audience, yeah, we still have a few people. So just please, you're welcome to ask us questions, comments, suggestions, productive or just constructive criticism. So we can start asking each other questions, I guess. Anastasia, what are your practices with feedback, giving students
I
feedback?
I took some notes from your presentation. I really liked that self-awareness piece when I can explain why I made certain language choices. I thought that's very cool. I love doing like these reflective practices, but it never occurred for me to add these. Like I recalled key vocabulary or structures accurately because we are so focused on the I can do statements. Like I can describe the weather in winter, or I can write a postcard. Like, but these explicit strategies to create a meaningful piece, for example, to recall vocabulary, to make an agreement between verb and noun, or verb and noun, yes, verb and noun, and then adjectives and noun, like all of this stuff, so that they notice, like they look at the checklist and they noticing they are not just functional cans, but also grammar cans, like like the language, the systemic abilities, abilities to treat language as a system. So I really like that. So at my yeah, I thought that was I definitely wanna be incorporating that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Mhm.
But my feedback, I said, like this particular first year, I focus on that. If I do the writing, I do the curious reader feedback. I give them questions. If I see that sometimes they're heavily influenced by English syntax, for example, I can see that that's exactly, they just translated how they would say
Negative
in
transfer. Yeah.
English.
Yeah.
Yes, that transfer. So I do comment on that. I would say, because honestly, I don't think at that level they would be able to see what they're doing and how they would do it in Russian. Because it's, as I was listening to you, I totally thought about sociocultural theory and zone of proximal development
Of course.
and
That's every
languages.
Vygotsky. Yep.
Like if you push them
Yeah.
and they make that step, you know they're almost there. But if you push them and they're still like, what? And
Yeah.
you're like, try to push them again, and they again, not really sure. And you keep pushing until like you realize, well, that's not working. I need to explicitly tell them. So I noticed with a lot of that transfer, like syntax errors, or they would choose a word that, for example, they would write, о, температура очень удобная. Я говорю, ребят, ну температура может быть комфортная, да, например, но not удобная. And I need to, like, they will not understand until I explicitly tell them, do not say that. Same as, like, погода такая красивая. Нет. И какой красивый день сегодня. Нет. Because a really beautiful day. Well, we say it in English, well, I'll say it in Russian. I know the word красивый. So, and these things, I explicitly do them. I push them. I will highlight in their writing things that I know for sure they should know.
Well,
And if they do not come back to me changing that, then I would be like, where did
yeah.
I fail teaching you that construction?
So that's why I really believe in the teaching in aspects, teaching language
Mhm.
aspects. So just grammar would be one of this, or just even I did this practice in all institutions where I've been teaching, and I'm doing this right now in my in Defense Language Institute. I am giving them a linguistic lecture on the features of Russian, and
Mhm.
even more
Mhm.
on the comparing English grammar to Russian grammar.
Mhm.
That's very helpful. That's actually
Mhm.
just made them feel themselves more like linguists, what they like, at
Mhm.
least like those who are taking the Russian for professions. That's really important for them,
Mhm.
just to get the grasp of all language and just feel that it's a tool, so just that they can not only like kind of absorb it, but also just they can how they can create it without understanding the whole map
Mhm.
language, the whole connections between the vocab and syntax.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. I think that we are already out of time. Yeah, I think like Igor,
Uh,
what do you think about this? I can see Igor is with us still. So, but do we have the session till 3:45?
for what? Yeah, I believe it's
Or till 4:15?
4:15. Okay, for
4:15.
like an hour and
Okay.
a
Yeah,
half.
we
Yeah, I
can.
think we have a bit of time for questions if there are
Okay.
any.
Yeah. So do you have any? Okay, then I'd like to ask Anastasia,
Mm-hmm.
once I made this for my students, just I made this practice to write a story and write
Mm-hmm.
a story like during the whole semester. So
Uh-huh.
I put them in the like I made this project for a grade. I gave them, I think that 10% of a grade.
Mm-hmm.
In the usual course, it's usually I gave this project to at advanced level. So, and I put these assignments just to write like in English creative classes, like teachers teach their students to write stories. So just I
Mm-hmm.
gave them like one assignment, the first assignment, write about a main character, describe
Mm-hmm.
his
Mm-hmm.
personal traits, and just gave them a kind of checklist. So
Right.
then the next incremental like part, it was, can you describe his house and his
Mm-hmm.
living conditions? So
Mm-hmm.
and it was, can you describe his relationship with other people? So just
Mm-hmm.
bring
Mm-hmm.
in other characters. So just my
Right.
point, my question is,
Uh-huh.
like, how do you usually teach them writing? So just what is the process? Do they write, like, do they develop the same topic during the semester, or do they write the essays on different topics?
Different topics depending on what we're covering, but I love that continuity of writing because see, at that first level, it's our second semester of first year.
Oh,
So
of course.
they are at a novice high and some outliers would be an intermediate low level.
Mhm.
So we are still navigating the case system. We're still navigating the verb aspects system. And the topics that are typically related to novice level, which are myself and my friends describing characters. So we do not do that in writing. I do not assign that as writing, but I describe my hometown. We talk about my favorite holiday. We talk about it's all like a lot of me. So I am my own main character of my story.
Yeah,
Here is my day.
low level.
Here is my holiday. Here is my town. Here is how I get to university every day. Like basic glimpses into their life, so to say. That's what.
Yeah, I think that's more assignment for the flagship program classes, probably. Yeah.
Uh, but I think that continuing with a story in
That's
an
how I gave
advanced
them
level.
agency. You know, they felt that they can be an author. So just
They
author.
are
So
owners.
just
That's
yeah, and they
exactly.
are. So just when
Yeah.
they own their
Yeah.
own narrative, so just and that I didn't direct them. So just I only gave them kind of those like a tiny like how could I put it? So just steps
Yeah.
to
Just little
climb, yeah, in
clues.
the
Yeah.
composition and in the like I didn't direct them in terms of plot, in terms of characters or just context or genre. So just and they came up with different genres.
Because
Like
see, but I noticed that once they own that product, it really empowers them. And even like today, as I shared with my heritage, I want to tell him I will see them Monday for last classes, and I will tell him I noticed that. I was amazed because when they were supposed to give that, and he was not even the last student on that forum. He was like somewhere in the middle, and after him, some people added too, and his was like these 3 lines, and I was like, I cannot believe it, but okay, I can because he's been like that the whole semester. But then I opened it today and I was like, oh my gosh, he added what they make. What, like some more details? He found details to add. So I want to celebrate him. I come on Monday. So that when they start, I myself noticed that, like when you start writing, you actually start having ideas. You actually start, and I told my advisor, because I'm working on my comprehensive exams due May 12th, and I told her that I was like, I'm so enjoying writing. My head is bursting. And she's like, well, that's the generative nature of writing. The more you write, the more you just like ideas are flooding your head. And that's what I want them to experience, even with these mundane topics. I want them to be able to focus on what they can create rather. I mean, how is also important. Yes, I want to be able to understand what you are trying to say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't want you to be completely restricted. Oh, I'm not going to write like that. Oh, I'm not. Just what you can. I'm interested in what you have to say, and how you want to say it, will work on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, agreed. So it was my great pleasure to be with you on a panel. So,
Absolutely, same. Thank you so
yeah,
much. Well,
we're actually just concluding this conference. So, yep,
yes.
probably our paths will cross somewhere. Yeah.
Yes, probably at ATSIL maybe next year or somewhere. Yes, yes, that was
Thank you
very
very much.
nice.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much, Igor, for monitoring
Yes.
our panel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Anastasia, I want to say that Krasnoyarsk has a big spot in my heart.
Oh, please tell me more. Did you live there?
My sister lives in Krasnoyarsk, and I'm from Забайкалье, so not far from Krasnoyarsk. I'm from
What's
Читинская
Читинская
область.
область? Ну, конечно. Ой, О, видите, как замечательно.
Так что
Да, в
очень
Красноярске я
приятно, так
училась.
сказать, почувствовать сибирскую кровь.
Взаимно, да, замечательно, замечательно.
Хорошо. Спасибо всем, тогда я прекращаю запись.
Да,
Хорошо.
да.